What's up, y'all? Both of my cameras are actually down at the moment, so it's been very difficult for me to make videos right now. But I had Instagram ask me some questions, and I had a few pro riders ask me some questions that are more industry related, and this time I kind of went through all of the questions and found the ones that I found are kind of the best ones. So this time should be more detailed on some of the better questions rather than just answering a million ones, even ones that are just kind of random. If y'all do want to be involved with something like this, stay tuned with my Instagram and my YouTube channel, and next time I post a story asking to ask me a question, if you ask me a good one, I'll put it in the next Q&A. But yeah, let's get started. What do your sponsors require you to do? My sponsors personally don't go handing me out a ton of requirements, just because I feel that I promote them a ton on the YouTube channel and my Instagram as well, and I feel I kind of give them a positive ROI. But the requirements I think they kind of would want from me is to make sure I show up to all of the photo shoots, all of the events that they want me to go to, and promote them on my channels and provide them with content. I should probably provide them with a bit more content, but usually I just put that content on my channels because I feel that my channels are actually bigger than most of my sponsors' channels. So I feel that being on my channel, I kind of give them a better ROI. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Get a whole bunch of content and promote the brands I ride for as much as possible. If you guys do want to know who my sponsors are, they are Centurion Boats, Hyperlight Wake, and Jet Pilot. These guys support me so much, and if you guys want to support me as well, make sure you guys support those brands because they are truly awesome to me. What is your least favorite thing about wakeboarding? My least favorite thing personally is that some of the pro riders, not all of them, but some of the pro riders, I honestly feel that they think they are so cool, they think they are so sick, and they kind of are sort of cliquey and maybe kind of are standoffish away from everyone else, where I think that this sport is too small, it's too much of a niche to be like that, and that I feel that more pro riders should kind of open up and hang out with everyone rather than their own little small clique. And yeah, I guess that's just kind of my least favorite thing. But yeah, be friendly to everyone and help spread the stoke and help the sport grow. That's what I think should happen. So if you're too cool, in my personal opinion, maybe you're not. What's your favorite thing about wakeboarding? My favorite thing is that, man, it's just awesome. It truly is fun, whether it's the cable or the boat. They're two different vibes. The boat, all the tension is on you at once, and at the cable, everyone can ride at the exact same time, and you can kind of work on your own individual things that you want to work on. But overall, the stoke on wakeboarding is so high, and most people involved within the sport are so cool to each other. And if you meet a wakeboarder from far away, you instantly kind of have a connection with them. And just all of the people I meet everywhere, that's kind of my favorite part about wakeboarding, is just kind of sharing the love for this sport. And yeah, I think that's my favorite thing. What camera equipment do you use? Honestly, the only cameras I use are just a GoPro and my Sony AX53 dad cam. I wasn't gonna recommend my dad cam because it did break. However, I did just go online and find Sony's customer service number, and I called it, and within a few minutes they just sent me a shipping label, and I shipped it off, and they're repairing it for free, and it's being shipped back right now as we speak. So yeah, highly recommend the Sony AX53 dad cam. It's extremely easy to use, and all of your friends will be able to film you with it. It's so stable. It has like sort of a gimbal inside of it, and you can be as shaky as you want and it's still stable, and it can zoom all the way across the cable, so you can pretty much film every single feature on the cable from one spot. So I highly recommend that camera. I'm not sponsored by Sony whatsoever. And also the GoPro, it's great. It does freeze a lot, but it's very useful, and I think it's definitely necessary if you do wakeboard. How much do pro wakeboarders get paid? There are two different types of pro wakeboarders, and maybe kind of a hybrid one, but there are boat pro wakeboarders and cable pro wakeboarders, and I do feel that they get paid differently, but we can start with the cable ones. I feel that 99 out of 100 cable wakeboarders that consider themselves a pro wakeboarder actually get paid $0 per year. And if they are going to all events, this is sort of like going to a casino. So I'd say that most cable wakeboarders make negative money per year. However, some cable wakeboarders do make money, and the highest I kind of hear about from, say, a board sponsor or something like that is somewhere around the 3,000 mark or so per month. And I'd say a very, very slim few amount of cable wakeboarders would make something like that. But on average, I'd say the pro wakeboarders that you kind of think are making money are probably making around 500 bucks a month from a board sponsor. And I bet that 70% of the pro cable wakeboarders that you think are making money are probably making zero and probably get some travel budget or something like that. And if a cable wakeboarder isn't Trent Stuckey, they are probably going negative if they're trying to make money off contests. Let's talk boat pro wakeboarders. I'd also say that 99 out of 100 boat riders that consider themselves pro are also not making any money. However, for pro boat riders, there are boat sponsors, and these boats are pretty much all selling for more than $100,000. So I'd imagine these boat companies that do sponsor athletes, they have quite a bit more budget than most brands. I'd imagine if you're a top tier boat guy and you're winning most of the contests, you could probably rack up 3 or 4 sponsors that are paying a few $1,000s a month. But I'd say that most riders on the pro wakeboard tour are probably earning $1,500 or less per sponsor per month. If you are a top tier level rider, though, those riders are pretty much going to need to take around 3 sets a day, which means you're going to need to put 2 gas cans full of premium in the boat 3 times a day. And I'd imagine after a month, that's going to rack up to quite a lot of money that's going to come straight out of that money that you earned. I do think that most pro boat riders just have rich parents, so it's not too much of a stress if they're not making that much money anyway. I do hear of some sponsors doing prize matching for some of the boat riders, so I'd imagine if you had a couple of sponsors prize matching, and if you're a rider like Nick Rappa or someone like that and you're on the podium every single weekend, I think that you could probably rack up a lot of coin. I do hear rumors of way back in the day, back when maybe Parks and Danny and Ruck and Chad and all those boys were on Hyperlight, like way back then. I hear rumors that the industry standard was kind of around $10,000 a month on a board sponsor. I could be completely wrong because I didn't really wakeboard yet, but this is just kind of a rumor I hear. Some riders have their name on quite a few different products. One rider I do know has their name on quite a few different wakeboards, a wake surfer, a foil, a couple different handles, and I'd imagine on each one of these items that does sell, they would earn a royalty. Honestly, I don't know an exact number of what any pro rider makes. These are just kind of rumors that float around throughout the industry that I have heard. All of these rumors could be absolutely false. I do know a ton of riders that do lie pretty often, so yeah, take these numbers with a grain of salt. What is the board shaping / graphics process whenever you're creating your own pro model wakeboard? I've actually done the shaping part twice now, and the graphics part I do every single year because they put a new graphic on the board every single year. But as for the shaping portion of this, our board shaper at Hyperlight Wake, or at least the one I use, his name is Aaron Stumpf. He's actually extremely talented, but basically you'll kind of like draw up or give him whatever ideas you have that you think that you would like in a board, and you kind of tell him that and give him a great idea of exactly what you want, and he'll get on his computer and draw this board up in CAD, and he'll actually send me back the 3D drawings, and I can look at those and kind of say some things that I think I wouldn't like or I would like, send that back to him, and then he'll send you back a second sort of CAD drawing of the board, and if I like it, then he will go ahead and hand shape that board over in Washington where the Hyperlight warehouse is, and he'll send over a prototype here to Texas where I'm at, or for the free press, for instance, that was sent all the way to the Philippines, and I tested out the board. I found some things I didn't like. I kind of like wrote about the things I didn't like, wrote about the things I liked, and I told him those, and then basically he makes one more prototype, and if I like it, great, perfect. I liked it, loved it, absolutely loved it, and then pretty much he finishes off, they create the mold, they'll press the board shows up at the chute, and then yeah, you've got the board. As for graphics, we have a super talented graphic guy at Hyperlight. His name is Corey. I think the company is Mystery Made. He does a ton of graphic design for snowboards and things like that. I just kind of find some different boards online, and I make sure that Airbud gets on the board and kind of show him some ideas that I like, and he'll usually draw up something I like within the first try. He'll send me like 6 or 7 little samples, and I'll just kind of pick the one I like most, and for the most part he nails it super quick, and the graphics are very easy, I feel like. How many boards and boots per year do you go through? Cable boards, I probably go through around 3 per year, and boat boards, most of the time the board lasts the entire year. However, for the athletes, they do send us blems, so if I do break a boat board, it'll usually be right then when it's brand new, it's fresh, it's crisp, and if I land super heavy out in the flats, sometimes when the board is brand new, maybe the blem has kind of a defect or something like that, and I will just snap the crap out of it. But other than that, usually about 3 cable boards and 1 boat board per year. As for boots on the boat, I don't ever really break any, and on the cable, previous years I would kind of go through like 3 pairs of boots per year, but now that they sewed the heel of the free press boot onto the actual boot itself, I've been running the same boots for the entire year. So yeah, this year they're super strong. Also, pro riders that are sending huge gaps, landing super heavy on rails, riding all day, every single day, are more likely to go through product than your average guy. So I wouldn't go thinking that this is gonna happen to you. What trick are you most proud of landing? I'd say probably the mega gap back lip at Rocker Steiner's old cable. That is the most scary thing I've probably ever tried, or maybe the second most scary thing after trying to Moby Dick wake to wake to that rail. But that is the most scary thing I've attempted and landed. And also maybe Moby Dick 450 transfer at BSR. I'm not necessarily super proud of that one because I randomly just tried it and did it first go. I had no intention of doing that before I even came to the cable park that day. It just kind of happened, and Graham happened to be filming that day. So yeah, I was super stoked on that, especially because no one else has ever done that before, or maybe someone has now, but at the time, no one had ever done that. So I felt pretty good about it doing an MBD. So those are maybe my 2 favorite ones, my most proud tricks that I've done, I think. What is the easiest flip off of a kicker? In my opinion, it's the toe side back roll. A lot of people say they can't do backflips. If you can't do a backflip, go learn one on a trampoline, go learn one off a diving board, off the dock into the water, something like that, because I feel that if you even slightly attempt to do a toe side back roll, it kind of automatically kicks you around in the entire flip. The landing is a little bit more difficult than, say, maybe a tantrum or something like that, but actually getting the flip around on a toe side back roll, I find that it is the easiest first flip trick to learn. Are you going to the Philippines this winter? The answer is yes, I am going. The flights are already booked from December 1st until March 1st. I will be riding at the cable park called CWC. I'm sure you've heard of it. If you do want to come ride with me, feel free, come on out, and we can rip every single day in the endless summer in paradise over there. Food is super cheap there, accommodation is super cheap there, and yeah, the summer is endless there. So warm climate all winter. Come ride with me. We can hang out, rip, and just have an overall good time. It's an absolute blast out there at CWC, and also it's just super fun ripping scooters around through this whole different kind of world that's fully different than America or any other place I've been. So yeah, if you want to come rip and have a great time, do it. I'll be at CWC the whole winter. What is your worst injury? When I was around 16, I was doing a half cab roll behind the boat, and I actually blew my ACL, which sucked, I'm not gonna lie. But for me personally, it wasn't really my worst injury. I recovered from that one perfectly. My knee feels perfectly normal, like it never even happened. I feel like I recovered quite quickly, and I felt perfectly normal way before the 6-month mark. So that was pretty cool and lucky for me, at least. But I feel that my worst injury might have been a couple years later. I actually broke my leg attempting a double half cab roll at the cable. I didn't even ride cable yet. We just happened to go to Wake Nation Houston. At that time they had a huge kicker, and I tried a double half cab roll and I broke my leg inside of my binding, and that is a much less serious injury than a blown ACL, but it seemed it healed up all nicely. But I kind of had like shin splints for quite a few years after, and just kind of lingering pain that just didn't seem to ever want to go away. It's fully gone now, and my leg feels perfectly fine, my knee feels perfectly fine, but those are kind of the two that happened that were the worst. I feel that back then, whenever I first started wakeboarding, I would try tricks that were way out of my league before I should have been trying them, and I ended up getting completely hammered all the time because we would only really wakeboard on the weekends. So I'd get all the tricks out of the way that I've been thinking about all week, and I just get hammered over and over and over, and I feel like I got injured a lot more back then, whereas now I feel like I definitely have a lot better board control and I don't really get injured, rarely at all. I'm gonna knock on wood, but yeah, back then, out of control, trying tricks I probably shouldn't. Feel like you get injured more. What is your favorite place to wakeboard? My favorite place to ride is Lake Austin behind the boat here in Austin, Texas. I absolutely love it. There are a ton of people on the lake enjoying water sports, and overall the entire vibe on that whole lake is amazing. I also enjoy Lake Travis, but I prefer Lake Austin here in Austin. And as for cable parks, right now currently I love CWC the most. I feel that there are some parks that might have a little bit superior rails maybe, or maybe not superior, but just more of them, and they'll have more cables and things like that, but they aren't in really that great of a climate area. And CWC kind of has it all. They have great rails and great weather all year, and the vibes are super high. I never have to wear a wetsuit, and yeah, I honestly just love the Philippines. So yeah, CWC and Lake Austin, those are my favorite spots for both boat and cable. How can you pop off of the wake without using ballast? Pretty much popping off of any wake requires just giving it a solid push and standing tall off of the wake. But a way you can make your wake bigger without using ballast is actually slowing the boat down to a slower speed and pulling the rope to a shorter length so that the wake will still be clean at these slower speeds. The wake will be bigger, but keep in mind, the slower you go, the softer the water gets, so it won't have as hard of a punch. But that's how you can make your wake bigger with no ballast. How often do you work out, and what do you work on? You will never ever catch me in the gym, I'll tell you that right now. Something I do believe is that if you have big giant muscles and you're muscle dense, I think this will actually make your wakeboarding worse. I personally think the best body type to have is kind of like Massey Pifferetti's body type, kind of thin and skinny and lanky and light. This guy is probably 20 pounds less than me, but I feel that if you are this light, the impact on your knees is much less. You're not crunching up those meniscuses and things like that, because if you do have all of this bulky muscle, I know your muscles can help you land, but I do feel like you're crunching those meniscuses and having damage on your joints every single time you land. So if I were to work out, what I would suggest is get those legs super strong, get your stabilization muscles in your knees super strong, work on balance and things like that. And if you do have weak shoulders, maybe work on that, but I wouldn't go getting yourself super heavy and muscle dense, because I think that will make you wakeboard worse. And also, I think a great workout is foiling, because it definitely helps with your balance and it will get your stabilization muscles within your knees very, very strong, and it's also a great leg workout. So foiling would be an awesome workout, but yeah, you won't ever catch me in the gym. How to not be a whenever you are attempting a new trick. Honestly, you just need to go for it and don't be a just try the trick you're trying. Most likely the worst consequence is an edge or something like that. You'll end up with a headache or something. It's not the end of the world. However, the other day I did end up getting syndrome. I was trying to do a wrapped KGB 5 and I just didn't really feel comfortable with the wrapped KGBs I was doing. I couldn't gain air awareness, and I knew that there was about 100% chance if I went to blind on it, I was going to hang a back edge, and I don't know, I just kind of got syndrome that day. I honestly should have just tried one of them and taken the headache, but yeah, sometimes you know, you just gotta power through it and really just force yourself, and that's how you can kind of not be a but I don't know, just grow some nuts and try your hardest, and I think you can achieve anything. So yeah, don't be a Do you think that wakeboarding is growing as a sport? The answer is both yes and no. As for cable wakeboarding, the sport is definitely growing. There are cable parks popping up everywhere all over the world. There are hundreds and hundreds of cable parks over in Europe. So wakeboarding is definitely thriving over there. As for professional boat wakeboarding, I feel that we're kind of on the decline. I feel that almost 100% of professional boat wakeboarding is sort of condensed into just Orlando, Florida only. There's kind of a couple guys in California and maybe a couple guys in Texas as well, but that's pretty much it as for pro wakeboarding goes. Water sports as a whole is definitely growing. Wake surfing is growing for sure. Foiling is growing, and also there's just a bunch of average everyday wakeboarders that enjoy their time on the lake but not as pros. If you are to look at wakeboard sales for behind the boat, I will say that wakeboarding is very healthy. Wakeboard sales behind the boat are actually much higher than wakeboard sales at the cable. So yeah, behind the boat, wakeboarding is very, very healthy. What is the one thing you wish you knew before you started wakeboarding? As for professional wakeboarding anyway, the one thing I wish I knew before I started would be that it's not all about how good you are at wakeboarding. I thought from the very beginning, if I was the best wakeboarder ever, that would help me out so much. And obviously you do need to be a great wakeboarder, but that's not all it's about. It's definitely about having great connections, being friends with everyone, and kind of just knowing the right people. And if I figured that out earlier, I would have probably gone to more events and different things and boat shows and connected myself with the right people to help further my career earlier on. But yeah, just being really good at wakeboarding isn't what it's all about. You need to be a great ambassador for the sport. So yeah, if you're the best ever, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna have a great career. What is the best looking trick? I feel that most people just say it's a method because it's kind of like the cool guy thing to say, but honestly, I think glides are kind of the sickest. A lot of pro wakeboarders might think that kind of Rayleigh variations are sort of kooky, but I don't know, I really think it's awesome. I think sending big glides, maybe a big indie glide, a big tail glide, or a method glide, or anything like that, just blasting into the flats and just going bigger than everyone else. That's kind of like a jaw dropper. Like Ulf Dish is going huge right now, so just honestly going really, really big is kind of my favorite trick. But yeah, for me, glides. I really like big glides. I think they are very cool. And yeah, I think that's gonna kind of wrap things up. If you guys have any more questions, try and comment those down below. I'll do my best to answering those. And next time I kind of put a poll on my Instagram like this, make sure to ask me a question. If you have a good one, I'll include it in the next Q&A. But yeah, that's it for today. If you guys like this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Comment below what kind of videos you guys want to see in the future. I'll be getting my camera back soon from Sony, so stay tuned. A lot more videos will be coming. It's been pretty difficult lately, and yeah, I upload a wakeboarding video every second day forever, so make sure you guys subscribe. I'll see y'all next time. Peace!